With fantasy drafts approaching, even this weekend for some fantasy owners, well, most drafts are next weekend and during the week before the season starts September 4th. Here's the worst picks from rounds 1 to 12 entering the 2025 fantasy football seasons. I used the website 4x4 and it covers pretty much all the major websites where you play fantasy football: Yahoo Sports, ESPN, CBS Sports, Underdog. So all those rankings combined it together, stop into an average ADP off those websites in the first round. Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens is my worst pick in the first round. Obviously, Derrick Henry, he's been great throughout his NFL career. Last season, a great first year with the Baltimore Ravens. But the thing with Henry is, Father Time's going to catch up sooner than later, I believe, for Derrick Henry. And he did run out of gas a little bit towards the end of the season. PPR leagues, he don't obviously catch the football. And Lamar Jackson takes rushing attempts away from him as well, obviously, even though last season it didn't matter. He had one of the best seasons of his career was Derrick Henry. But like I said, second round, I'd be more comfortable mid-second getting Henry. There's players like Devon Achane, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas, even Brock Bowers maybe I'd rather have than Derrick Henry entering fantasy drafts this season. Like I said, Henry's a great player. He's still going to be solid. I just think they're still overranking him just a bit as Derrick Henry, especially in the PPR formats. Like Achane last season, he had a great season. Obviously, catching the football. Nico Collins, to me, is a first rounder anyway. And Brian Thomas, Brock Bowers, two guys entering their second season who had monster rookie seasons. So possibly decline a little bit for Derrick Henry at his age and not catching the football. And also as well, this Raven offense, we don't know if they could repeat putting up all those points per game like they did last season. It's definitely a team that's going to score top 5 points per game offensively this year. But like I said, those other players I just rather have than Derrick Henry going into the season. Second round, Josh Jacobs for the Green Bay Packers. Josh Jacobs, he's been a solid player for many seasons. Last year, good first year for him as well with the Green Bay Packers it was for Josh Jacobs. But there's a lot of players on the board I'd rather have than Josh Jacobs in the second round as well. Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irvin, I think are better running backs at this point than Josh Jacobs. Lamar Jackson, Allen, if you really want to go quarterback early in the second round, those guys obviously better, in my opinion, to get than the Jacobs. Ladd McConkey to close out that round. And even in the third round, there's a few players I'd rather have than a Josh Jacobs, like a Chase Brown, Kyren Williams, Tyreek Hill. So like I said, Josh Jacobs, solid running back, but another back that doesn't get a lot of catches out of the backfield. In this offense with Matt LaFleur, he always likes using more than one back. Jacobs, he's still going to get his 250, 300 touches, where his upside's capped up a little because he don't catch the ball much out of the backfield. And if he's not scoring a lot of touchdowns, he don't put up a lot of points. So, like I said, there was a lot of players going after him ADP-wise as Josh Jacobs than I'd rather have. I still think it's not a crazy, obviously, spot 19th overall as Jacobs, but if he was someone 25th, 26 range, I think I'd be more comfortable to take him. And they have him here, the RB8. To me, he's RB 11, 12 range entering the season is Jacobs. Third round, T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins, it was a great season last year. He got the contract extension, and going into the year, he's 28th overall ADP-wise and receiver 12. And just looking at this third round as well, there's players I'd rather have than T. Higgins. Tyreek Hill, I'd rather have. George Kittle, I'd rather have. Garrett Wilson, to me, it's close. Breece Hall, I'd rather have on my roster than T. Higgins. So right there, 4 or 5 players I named I'd rather have than Higgins. Higgins last year, like I said, contract year was on the franchise tag. He put up numbers. But the thing is, the Cincinnati Bengal team, they put up tons of yards. I don't think that's going to happen once again this year. I know that we're trailing a lot of games, had no choice to throw the football, and Jamar Chase and Higgins went off for monster seasons. But the other thing with Higgins as well, injuries have been a concern, and he missed 3 or 4 games as well last season for the Cincinnati Bengal team. So like I said, last year was a contract year, especially second half of the season. Everything went well with T. Higgins. But I think this year, this Cincinnati Bengal team, they're going to be in games closer where they're not throwing the football 50, 60 times per game. And also as well, he's the third option in this offense to me. Obviously, it's Jamar Chase, number 1, Chase Brown, number 2. So I expect the numbers to go down a little bit for T. Higgins. I think he's more of a 4th to mid-4th round pick entering fantasy drafts. Like I said, last year was a great year, no doubt about it. But I don't think he duplicates those type of numbers once again. And like I said, he was still injured and missed ball games as T. Higgins. So with all those factors, and for some players I said I'd rather have than him going into the draft in this round. He's someone I don't like in the third round range is Higgins. Now to the fourth round, Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders. Terry McLaurin, he's been holding out for this Commander team. Obviously, he wants a new contract. And last season, him and Daniels, they took off week 4, week 5 on that Monday night game when they had a comeback victory and got things going. But Terry McLaurin, I think he's a solid receiver, but to be honest, I don't think he's someone I would even take as my number 2 wide receiver on my fantasy roster. A lot of inconsistencies it is throughout his career. And Jaden Daniels, he's a running quarterback as well, let's be honest. And now adding Deebo Samuel to the mix is going to take from Terry McLaurin. And also, let's say Terry does sign a week or a few days before the season starts. Usually we've seen these contract holdout players take a while to get back to form, get back to where they were, or even not even get back to where they were in the season, and they're total bust as a pick. So in this round, like an Alvin Kamara, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy in this round alone, I'd rather get than a Terry McLaurin. 42 overall is a little high for me, where he's back in third, mid-4th round range. Is Terry McLaurin going in fantasy drafts, and the receiver 19, where, like I said, these other players are younger, and I think they got more upside than a Terry McLaurin. 5th round, Jameson Williams of the Detroit Lions. As I go on in this video, a lot of receivers I think are overrated after one good season and moved up the rankings, and that's exactly the case, in my opinion, with Jameson Williams. No doubt about it, last season he stayed on the field. He had a good year. Jameson Williams put up some monster games, but he's like a one-trick pony. If he's not getting that big deep ball or, a slant he takes to the house for 80 yards, his fantasy points aren't going to be there week in and week out. So right now the receiver 27 is Jameson Williams. That I could agree with, 27, 30th range at the receiver position. But the thing I can't agree with, mid-5th round range, I think's high for Williams. If he was 6th, 7th round, I think that's solid. I think a lot of these receivers are ranked around too early. So going into the year, like I said, he's going to be the 3rd, 4th option on the offense. Got Gibbs, got Montgomery, St. Brown, Sam Laporta. So Jameson Williams, there'll be some boom games where he scores 20, 25 fantasy points, and then some games he don't do much and he scores 5, 7 fantasy points. That's just going to be the nature of it, the way the offense is over there, the mouths to feed in Detroit, and also just the way he plays the game. Like I said, he's a deep ball threat and a home run hitter, but if he's contained and not getting that deep ball in the open field, his numbers aren't going to be there for those games. So players in this round, I'd rather have than a Jameson Williams, a George Pickens, DeAndre Swift, Teddy McMillan, I'd rather have. And then even going to the 6th round, there's players I'd rather have. Is it Calvin Ridley, who's the number 1 there? TJ Hawkinson, RJ Harvey, even a Travis Hunter. So a lot of players ADP-wise going after Jameson Williams. And like I said, no doubt it was a great season last year for Williams, but I have to see a little bit more before I'm confident this guy could be a 4th, 5th round pick every season entering fantasy draft. 6th round, Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins. So the last couple years, the numbers are starting to drop off for Waddle. Injuries have definitely played a factor as well for Jalen Waddle. And this offense, they got a lot of mouths to feed as well, obviously, over there in Miami. And now with Devon Achane last season stepping up as one of the better receiving backs in the league, that's going to take, I think, from Jalen Waddle, even some targets from Tyreek Hill. And also they added Darren Waller, even though I know Waller hasn't practiced, but he came out of retirement for a reason. And he's a big target, especially in the red zone as Waller, where at minimum I think he could help Miami, at least in the red zone with their offense. So like I said, there's other players I'd rather have. Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, Caleb Johnson if you need running backs in this round. And then going to the 7th round, Tony Pollard I would take, Jerry Jeudy. There's a few players I'd rather have than a Jalen Waddle. A lot of injuries on and off the last couple seasons. Last year, a lot of games where he disappeared. He didn't do much. I know the quarterback play was horrible when Tua went out, where Huntley was their main quarterback at times. And then guys off the scrap heap were starting for this Miami Dolphin team. But like I said, Jalen Waddle, he's just not a wide receiver I have confidence in, and he hasn't done much the last couple of years. And even coming into training camp, he was out of shape. He looked his Waddle. So 68 ADP-wise, don't like it. Receiver 32, not horrible, but like I said, I just named a bunch of players I'd rather have on my roster than Jalen Waddle. We're going after him ADP was 7th round. Bo Nix, the Denver Broncos. No doubt about it, Bo Nix had a great season last year for the Denver Broncos, but I still think this is a steep price, a little bit, 7th round to get a Bo Nix, because I think there's a lot of quarterbacks like a Kyler Murray who's going after him, Dak Prescott who's going after him in fantasy drafts, ADP-wise, Jared Goff. So a lot of these quarterbacks are very similar, and some of them you could get a round or two later than a Bo Nix. So like I said, Bo Nix was great last season for this Denver Bronco team. He also showed he can run the football and put up points that way. But like I said, he's mixed in with all those quarterbacks. And even in Justin Fields, who's going 9th, 10th round in some fantasy leagues as well, I think's right there with Bo Nix. So he's the QB8 coming in. A lot of people loved what he did last season. I'm giving him credit. But now the league's going to catch on a little bit, and we'll see what he does in his sophomore season. I know they got decent weapons. They drafted R.J. Harvey, which was a good pick in the NFL draft, to head to that backfield, upgrade over Javonte Williams, who went to Dallas in free agency. Cortland Sutton, he got his contract extension. They got Mims as the number 2 wide receiver, drafted Pat Bryant, and Evan Ingram was a nice pickup in free agency. But like I said, we'll see what he does in his second year and how the league adjusts to Bo Nix. And like I said, a lot of these quarterbacks, to me, 8th round or later, I would get him. Not in the 7th round like the Bo Nixes, the Prescotts, Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Justin Fields, all these quarterbacks, they're in the same range. And I just think Bo Nix at 75 overall is a steep price for fantasy owners. In this round alone, Jerry Jeudy, I'd rather get going after him. Rome Odunze, Stephon Diggs, Evan Ingram, Debo, just those players I'd rather take than a Bo Nix. Because like I said, Bo Nix and those quarterbacks, they're going to put up similar numbers this season. 8th round, Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings. Addison, he suspended the first 3 games of the season for this Viking team, and his suspension came down quick, so we'll see if Addison could come back and play well. But a lot of factors with the suspension. J.J. McCarthy, first season as the starting quarterback for this Viking team. We'll see how this offense does. Even though Sam Darnold last season, no one expected anything from him when he had to step in as the starter, and he had a monster year, over 30 touchdowns and over 4,000 yards. It was for Sam Darnold. But J.J. McCarthy, we'll see how he does this season. The backfield improved, adding Jordan Mason to already a good veteran running back, Aaron Jones, so they might run the football more and not want McCarthy to throw 35, 40 times per game. And like I said, anytime a guy's suspended early in the year, it's just not good for me. I don't want to start off the season using a top 10 pick on someone who's suspended, unless obviously a stud player they are. Jordan Addison, the first 2 years of his career, he's been solid. But like I said, the field now suspended 3 games. Last season, he got off to a slow start with injuries, and then he got going about week 6, week 7 was Jordan Addison. And now with the suspension here, there's other players in this round I'd rather have than Jordan Addison. Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, even Purdy and Fields back if you need the quarterback. Even Cooper Kupp and Shakir I'd rather have than Addison. 87th, I still think it's a steep price right now in the 8th round here for Jordan Addison. And also, receiver 40, I think is a fair number, but we just don't know what's going to happen with him after the 3 games. So right off the bat, 3 games, he's out as Addison. And right now, someone I would avoid, especially this early in drafts. 9th round, Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars, 103rd overall ADP, running back 34. And as the weeks go on and the season approaches, he's dropping down even more. Tank Bigsby, it looks like he could be the favorite in the backfield for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got Bashal Tutin, who they use decent draft capital on, where this could be a 3-man committee. And you don't want committees. I know it's late in the draft, 9th round, you're getting your backups at this point. But there's players I'd rather have: a J.K. Dobbins, Tucker Kraft, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, who I think have a good rookie season at the tight end position. And then even going to the 10th round, there's another players: Ramondre Stevenson, Colston Loveland, Zach Charbonnet, who I think is a solid handcuff. I'd rather have than Etienne if Etienne's going to be a backup. So with all those other options, and Etienne, his role is definitely not defined going into the season, where he could get limited touches or possibly he could get a lot of touches, even though this Jaguar team I think is going to trail a lot. Got 2 great receivers, Brian Thomas Jr. I think Travis Hunter has a big rookie season. So I think in the 9th round, there's better options going after Etienne. And he's someone I wouldn't draft in the 9th, 10th round. Javonte Williams of the Dallas Cowboys. Another backfield where it's going to be a committee. They got Miles Sanders. They got Jaden Blue, the rookie, who's been working with the first team at times as well in training camp. And I know Javonte Williams, only 25. I know he's coming off the ACL now 2 years. And sometimes it takes these guys 2-3 years to get going. But this Cowboy team, they're going to be trailing a lot, I think, this season. When you got CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, who just signed the contract extension a couple weeks ago as well. I just don't see Javonte Williams being a big factor in this backfield, and he's an easy pass. And even in my running backs to avoid video, Javonte Williams was one of those backs in that video. Going after Javonte Williams, who's 111 ADP-wise and 37th running back. Zach Charbonnet, I'd rather have. He's got more upside. We saw it last season when Walker was out. Colston Loveland, I like. Jordan Love, if you want to wait late on quarterbacks. Drake May as well. Dallas got a Kincaid that could fill your tight end position. Javonte Williams, if he's your 4th, 5th back, not horrible, but he's just not a running back that has a lot of hype. And like I said, this Cowboy team, I believe, is going to be a pass-first team. And there's still rumors floating out there. Breece Hall, they're interested in. I don't buy it because I thought it would happen by now. We don't see a lot of big trades right before the season starts. But with all those factors, obviously Dallas isn't sold on Javonte Williams. And he's someone I would pass up. 11th round, Jonnu Smith of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Jonnu Smith, no doubt about it, last season, especially second half, he had a big year with the Miami Dolphins. But the Dolphins traded him off in a nice trade. They traded Ramsey and Smith. They got Minkah Fitzpatrick. And they even took a shot at Darren Waller out of retirement. So right now, Jonnu Smith, 129 overall, tight end 16. And let's be honest, 12-team leagues, Jonnu Smith, he's going to go undrafted. So this play is right here I'd rather have going after Rashid Shaheed. I'd rather have than going into the 12th round at Jaden Higgins, Austin Eckler, Jaden Blue, more upside plays, Rashad Bateman, even Zach Ertz, he's a tight end I have ranked over Jonnu coming into the season. So Bashal Tutin, Christian Kirk, all those plays I'd rather have on my roster that going ADP-wise after Jonnu Smith. So now he's in Pittsburgh. He's already banged up a little bit in training camp. And we know Aaron Rodgers, especially the last few seasons, he just doesn't really like targeting the tight end position. And this team, I don't think they're going to want to throw 35, 40 times per game with Rodgers. We saw how that worked out last season with the New York Jets, where it was a train wreck and the season was over pretty quick for them. Even though Rodgers, no doubt, he gutted it out. He played good at times. But when he had Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams, they still couldn't get anything going. I don't think Jonnu Smith's going to be a factor. And like I said, he's the tight end 16, where he's going to go undrafted in most 12-team leagues is Jonnu Smith. So someone I would pass on the final round. The play I wouldn't pick is Trey Benson of the Arizona Cardinals. Benson, I know he's a decent handcuff. We know James Conner's had injury concerns throughout his career, and he's getting up there in age where running backs start to break down. But Trey Benson really hasn't shown much, and other players in this round, like a Bashal Tutin, Christian Kirk, Hunter Henry, Isaac Orendo, obviously is one of the best handcuff running backs in the league. I'd rather have over Trey Benson. We've seen Benson get some touches when Connor went out with injury and stuff at times, but he really hasn't had much pop as Benson so far. They expected way more out of him over there in Arizona, and I don't think he's one of the better handcuffs. There's guys like Ray Davis, even going later in fantasy drafts. Miles Sanders, he's got an opportunity in the backfield over there in Dallas. So those are just a few running backs off the top of my head that I think could have better chances than Trey Benson. And Roschon Johnson as well. So like I said, he's a little overrated ADP-wise coming into the year. And just Bashal Tutin and Orendo, two backs, like I said, in this round here, I'd rather take than a Trey Benson going into the season. So that's the worst draft picks from rounds 1 through 12 entering the 2025 fantasy football season.